So today I want to lay all the cards out on the table. I've repeatedly have said that I am not the best welder. There's so many other welders out there that are much better than me, and I'm trying to connect with those welders to help me teach anyone that wants to know valuable information about welders and the welding industry. I need a whole bunch of people's opinions, ideas, and experiences to actually bring to life my aspiration for Welder Beast. Okay, reason I say that is because I'm going to go into a little bit of a backstory about myself that has happened recently, and it was about 2 years ago, or 2.5, I'd say, right before my daughter was born. Up until that point, I was living in Alaska for 8 to 9 years, and went through the apprenticeship, plumbers and pipe fitters, and became a welder and was welding. I was fairly good. What happened there is I practiced and practiced and practiced and put a lot of my own time in, and then on top of that I was given the opportunity to go through a accelerated welding program the union put on for me that I did not have to pay at all for. It was about a 16-week course. So on top of me already practicing on my own, breaks, lunches, after work, and my days off, this program came up and I did it as well, and it just accelerated my learning. So I actually busted out as a welder when I was just a third-year apprentice. And, I was doing good. I wasn't failing any weld tests. I mean, I had it down. I could pass every single weld test all the way around. I've never busted one. Continuously was going through. And listen to the whole story before you start harping on me, guys. I know if you haven't busted a weld test, you haven't been doing long enough. There's more to the story, I promise. So, as time goes on, I ended up getting on with a bigger company that does all sorts of assortment of different kind of welding. So I had to take 9 separate weld tests. I was a 4th year or 5th year apprentice at the time. I took all 9 tests, passed all of them the first time. The mechanical superintendent actually came up to me later, and he didn't know me at the time. He said, "Hey, your name's Roby?" And I was like, "Yeah, name's Roby." And he's like, "Man, congratulations on your tests." I was like, "Oh, thanks." In my mind, I thought it was just expected. You take a weld test, you better pass the first time. He's like, I just wanted to say congratulations, because you do know that like 85% of the welders that come through here don't pass their weld test the first time. I was like, really? So he was saying I was in the top 15% of welders that roll through there. And these guys, welders come through here quite a bit. They come for just seasons or whatever. They never stay for long periods of time. So, there's thousands of welders that go through there. So I took that very personally as a young guy. I was 24, I think, at the time. And my head just went whoop, got huge. So from there, I was welding, doing great. Got to the point where I decided I was going to move my family down to Arkansas. So I moved them down to Arkansas. My wife was pregnant with my daughter, and so I just decided to take the time off. I had all the money in the world. I was living high off that Alaska money and came down here to Arkansas, where it's just dirt cheap to live. So I took 5-6 months off where I didn't need to work, didn't want to work. I told the hall I was not taking any calls for work. And then it came time that we had my daughter in like November and stuff, and it's coming up on pipeline season. And my wife thought, hey, it's time that it's probably good that you go back to work. We've got to start, doing something because we're running low on money. During that 5-6 months, I was actually trying to do anything to just try staying home. I was kind of done traveling because I've been traveling away from the house, 8 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or, longer stints, about 12 weeks during pipeline. Periodically, throughout 8 to 9 years of our whole relationship. So we were kind of done with it. I was trying to find something. At the time, I didn't find it, so I needed to go back. The whole 5 to 6 months, I never touched a stinger or welded whatsoever. So when I went back up, I then decided, okay, I don't really need to practice that much because I was still living off, that big head and never failing a weld test whatsoever for all the jobs I had taken so far. So I get up there, I take my downhill test right quick, bam, slam it out, all things go good, and then I take the uphill 6G pipe test for structural, and I thought everything went good. I get up there. Well, the welder boss, how he decides to run things, he doesn't tell you if you bust unless you can't come up to work for him. I passed the pipe test, but I did not pass the structural test. So that was the first weld that I have busted, weld test I had busted at the time. So that got into my head. Then what continued on from there is very embarrassing for me, but very important for you guys to know. I then went on to be welding and welding. Over the course of about 100 welds, I had 3 busts. Later on, I found out 2 of those busts were overturned. I only had 1 repair, but because I got 3, guys, I got fired. I was sent home. The most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. This was 2 years ago. 3 years ago, actually. Nope, I'm sorry, 2 years. I got my time frames off. I believe it was 2 years ago. So this was very recently. The lesson I learned is you can't just walk away from it, and you're going to keep it. And also, don't let yourself get a big head. But the whole point was leading to, do you think, in your opinion, that the machine makes the welder? Because in Alaska, you don't take your own rig, they provide you rigs. And I chose to go with the 300 HE. Later on, found out there's a lot of bad reviews about that weld machine. I got those repairs for the first time, got rolled out of there, laid off. The welder that came to replace me ran my machine, that same machine. He was getting repairs and he got fired until they then realized that that machine was a piece of junk and they removed the machine from the fleet and then finished the job out. So the point that I'm getting at is, does the machine make the welder, or is the welder supposed to be skilled enough to use any machine whatsoever? I'm not sure. I personally took it as a personal failure because I believed a welder can pick up any machine and weld perfectly, x-ray welds with whatever he's given him just based off of being able to read the puddle. But later on, finding out that 2 of my weld repairs were overturned and that they removed that welding machine out of the fleet after it got someone else's money, then I started thinking, well, maybe there is some machines that you just can't overcome. It doesn't do the right things for your weld for x-rays. So let me know what you guys think, what your experience has been. I just laid it out on the table for you guys. I have failed, and I'm probably going to continue to fail in many different ways. As long as I keep learning from it, I'm stoked to keep doing it. So you guys have a great day today. I know this was a long one, but a little bit of backstory about myself. And just to prove to you guys, I am not the best welder out there, and I've made a lot of stupid mistakes. Please don't make my mistakes. That's the whole point of Welder Beast, is trying to stop anyone coming up through the trade from making the same mistakes as me. I want you to go farther and be better than me. All right, you guys have a great one.